I love camping. I always have. Back where I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, you'd have to make a decent drive to find a good secluded place to camp. That's the key to a successful trip, you know. You have to find a spot that's off on its own, away from the visitor center and all the first time campers that tend to litter the site with cans and wrappers. I'm also an avid horror buff and such. I'm aware that secluded camping usually leads to slasher massacres or witch hunting or goatmen attacking, at least in the stories and movies. Of course, they are just that, right? Stories and movies. But then, every one of those tales also stars a skeptic. I left Kentucky at the end of high school to attend college in Arkansas. You see, my mother had gone to school there, and they provide a generous scholarship of in-state tuition to children of graduates, even if they come from a couple states away. Going to school in the Ozarks as a camping addict is fantastic. You don't believe all the amazing spots there are to pitch a tent and enjoy nature at its purest. The Ozark National Forest, Devil's Den, Wachita Park, and just dozens more. America's most obese state is an ironic haven for hikers and campers alike. Jared was kind of like our leader. He was the guy that always knew a spot no matter where we were camping. He had this map, completely tattooed in markings and directions to all the most breathtaking areas. When we went to a new spot, or at least a spot that was new to him, he would mark it on the map in either green if the spot was good, or red if the spot was shitty. There were marks in other colors as well, different ones, but they are far in between. He also marks the directions to each spot in highlighter. Jared looked the part too, a long-haired granola-style hippie with a sleeve of tats and a couple of earrings in each ear. But our walking stereotype was the best of best when it came to camping, and his information was rarely secondhand. So when he burnt up the group message running his mouth about a new spot his cousin found a couple of hours south, we all cleared our schedules. I mean, how often were we all new to a location? We all met up at our buddy Kyle's house to pack the truck with supplies. Kyle's dad was pretty wealthy, and as a gift for raising his GPA to 3.0, his father had bought him a brand new F-150 to hopefully keep his academic train rolling. My roommate and I showed up first, along with a cooler full of beer as a peace offering to Kyle for driving. We weren't technically legal, but Allie was only a month or two away and she had a particular fake ID, so we rationalized it morally just as we had been doing for years. Austin was next with his 5 to 6 person tent and a Sam's Club bulk of beef jerky, and Jared arrived last. Just so you know, we abide by the general road trip rules in this truck. Kyle barked, sliding into the front seat and bringing the engine to life. So, I don't want to hear a single complaint about my music choice. I snorted. New truck, new rules. I vote we make some amendments. Seriously, I'm not listening to fucking Trap the whole ride, Austin laughed. You morons have no appreciation for my taste. Eventually, we decided on a rotation and pulled out of his driveway to head to Jared's cousin's spot, a place called Creekbend. Apparently, it wasn't well known enough to be on the entire damn internet, so we navigated there pre-2003 style, the old-fashioned way. The trip went quick, and after about 3 hours of listening to Kyle's trap and an assorted mix of alternative, we pulled off the main road and onto a dirt trail somewhere in southern Arkansas. We drove for another half an hour or so before the trail abruptly ended. Oh, this is it, alright! Jared chuckled with a smile. Let's grab the shit and get set up. I don't want to be fumbling with the tent in the dark. We followed Jared through the brush for a bit until we reached a gorgeous clearing. The mountains rose up all around us, and the mid-autumn trees set the world ablaze. The setup didn't take long, and soon we had a tent in perfect shape and a roaring fire. We had been shooting the shit for an hour or so, enjoying the sunset and roasting hot dogs, when Allie asked the question we all had been wondering. How did your cousin even find this place? Allie asked, sipping her beer. Jared shrugged. He didn't really. Max frequents this outdoorsy forum, and he said this guy PM'd him the site with pictures. He wanted to check it out first, but he was busy all weekend, and he knew we would be all for breaking it in. So, here we are. I think it's a pretty good spot. Sounds like a plot to a horror flick. Allie laughed. Random strangers gives coordinates to a mystery camping location? Austin grinned. Oh, I dare some psychopath to come take us on. I'd love to see one try with 6 holes in his skull. Jared rolled his eyes. The guy's well known on the side, I think. We're good. But it's nice to know you brought your gun. Austin laughed and reclined, flopping back to gaze at the stars. We decided to turn in a bit later, and while we all got ready for bed in the tent, Austin went to take a leak. When he came back, Allie held the zipper shut. Password, she chimed. Oh god, are you in middle school? Just let me in, Austin groaned. Sorry, rules are rules. Okay, it's the password, you fucking idiot. Let me in, I'm freezing to death, he laughed. Allie giggled and I threw a look at Jared and Kyle. We all thought they had a thing. Nope, that's not it. Try again. We heard Austin shuffle his feet. This is so stupid, he sighed. Please? Come on in, Allie said with a 6th grade smirk. We all slept together when we camped in the fall or winter since it was usually pretty cold. Plus, it was easier to bring one tent rather than 5. It wasn't ever weird or uncomfortable, and Kyle usually generated so much heat, it would be worth it even if it were. You know that feeling when you wake up and you're not sure why? Like you can't quite place why you woke up. It's as if you were asleep and then suddenly you just weren't. That's how it was for me, only accompanied by a sense of anxiety. I tossed in my sleeping bag for a moment before I noticed Austin crouched by the exit of the tent, holding the zipper shut. I screwed my vision against the darkness. Austin? Shh, he hissed. I crawled over by him and he looked at me, eyebrows raised. I think something is outside the tent. Maybe like a bear or something. It woke me up. Should we, wake the others? I asked. No, he hesitated. I'm not worried. Did the sound wake you up too? I shook my head. Oh, well, it brushed up against the tent by my face and that's what woke me up. Thought maybe it had jarred your wake too. It sounded pretty big like... He was interrupted by the shuffling sound outside the tent. It did sound big. We looked at each other and kicked the others awake. What the fuck, guys? Kyle groaned. Jared shushed him and we all listened again. More shuffling, closer to the tent this time. Austin had a hand on his bag, ready to grab the gun if he was a bear, which seemed pretty unlikely for Arkansas. We had been camping for years and we'd never seen a bear. Austin squinted through the mash. Guys, he whispered. I don't think it's a bear. As if in response, whatever was outside moved directly in front of the zipper. Its voice was choppy, garbled, and sounded like Austin. Please, it stuttered. Please, 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 let me in. Holy shit, Jared whimpered. Austin, even in the dark, paled. More shuffling. I'm freezing. Please, please let me in. Let me in. Let me in. It rasped in Austin's voice. Who's out there? Austin barked on his own voice, carrying all the fear he tried to hide. Who's out there? The thing replied. Who's in there? It mimicked Austin's tones for each word, making the sentences improperly mashed together. I said, who is out there? I have a gun. Austin's voice betrayed his terror even more this time. Kyle and I looked at each other, and Ailey started to shake. We knew this wasn't a person. I had read all the stories, watched the movies. This wasn't a person, whatever it was. Gun, gun, gun. It was like it was trying the word out, like a fucked up learning by phonics lesson. Let me in! I'm freezing to death! Please, please, please! It moaned. The voice sounded more together this time, as he got the hang of Austin's voice. Kyle crawled forward and slammed both his hands on the mash. No! Go away! He shouted. We heard a rapid shuffling in place as he said, No, 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 no. It screamed in a butchered version of Kyle. No, please let me in. I'm freezing. Then in a combined voice of dozens of people, I'm starving. Austin choked back a sob and ripped his gun from his pack. No, Jared hissed. Austin, stop, you don't. He fired it through the mash, emptying the chamber. An otherworldly shriek pierced the stagnant air as the shuffling retreated. To the car, now! Jared hissed. You shouldn't have done that, Austin, he added, unzipping and ducking out the flap. We all followed, blinding, stumbling after Jared, leaving all the stuff behind with whatever the hell was back there. I could hear it giving chase. It broke through the trail somewhere far behind us, awkward gait crashing through the trees and bush. We reached the car, clamoring in, most of us crying. I turned in my seat as Kyle wrapped the engine to life, searching the tree line. Its body was illuminated by the moon as it emerged from the brush. It must have been 9 feet tall, skin white as the light that revealed it. Its form was like a distorted human's. An unsettlingly long, thick torso with bony, unnaturally thin limbs protruding it. The legs were short, and I wondered just how it managed to stay standing on such weak-looking extremities. Its arms were equally thin, but long enough to drag along the ground as it walked. It had human-like hands, 4 elongated fingers, and a claw-like thumbnail in place of the digits. Its head was a darkness all its own. It was disproportionate for one. Its mouth took up almost the entire face and was filled with teeth of various shapes and sizes. It had no nose, but its eyes glinted, all pupil, in the bright light of the moon. Just under its chin was a large sac, like a tumor or a blister. It hung nearly to its shoulders, and it pulsed with every shriek and moan it gave. Kyle floored the pedal and we peeled down the trail. It watched us as we flew down the road, completely still, and it gave one final scream as we disappeared from sight. We were silent the entire ride home. The only sound was Jared's shaking hands as he pulled out the map and drew a purple X through a creek band. I still camp sometimes, but only at the visitors' areas. The 5 of us haven't been out together since. I wonder about Jared's map sometimes. There were other markings on it, more than just red, green, and creek band's purple. Sometimes I wonder what else he's seen. He's a pretty avid camper. Alright guys, Mr. Creepy Master here. Well, I love camping as much as the next guy, but there's no way in hell that I'd ever camp at an unknown site suggested by a total stranger on an online forum, but that's just me. I hope you guys don't feel too adventurous when you go out camping, because strange things do happen a lot out in the woods, and I speak from experience. So unless you're an experienced outdoors man or woman, stay within bounds of the well-known campsites and don't let the boogeyman come get ya. Alright guys, please like the video and share it with your friends if you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.